It's Monday, May 15th, and this is Geek Nights. Tonight we talk about the worst technologies ever.
Let's do this. Another successful geekend.
Indeed.
We had a bunch of friends over, we climbed that mountain, and we played Fury of Scott Johnson.
Well, I didn't climb that mountain. I went home and then came back.
Yeah, the rest of us climbed
Full
the
of
mountain.
food.
But we did play Fury of Dracula.
We played Fury of Dracula.
The game takes fucking 5 hours to play.
It would have taken 3.5 hours if there wasn't a rules ambiguity.
Yeah, even though, not to, make fun of Scott, because apparently according to people out in the forums, I make fun of Scott too much.
Oh, so now they know which one of us is which again.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
I just found that really hilarious because honestly, in the real world, most people would say the exact opposite because Scott's the one who calls everyone stupid.
I make fun of everybody.
He does. It's like we make fun of Cartman because he's fat. Yeah. And we make fun of Cartman because he's stupid. Yeah.
They make fun of Cartman because he's an asshole.
God damn it, you already did me. Yeah. Anyway, we all decided, like everyone but Scott was like, all right, it's obvious the rule is this, let's just play. But Scott led us on an 1.5-hour goose chase to try to find the actual rule, and in the end he found out we were all right.
But the point is that you saw where the rule was in the rule book. You saw that, didn't you? Where was the rule in the rule book?
I'm not pretending that the rules were not shittily written.
Okay.
However, I was okay with us just making up a rule and continuing.
I'm not okay with making up rules. I gotta find out the real rule. But now, actually, I think there aren't so many ambiguities left in that game.
Yeah.
Like, there could be a few situations that arise due to a combination of event cards and encounters and things, but not many. I think we pretty much got the game down 100%.
Yep. Of course, I specifically avoided one possible conflict with a card just because I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, the game's fun.
Mm-hmm. We'll probably play it a few more times at least, see what happens.
Yep. Though in another quick meta bit, as you all know, I quit IBM, and this is my last week. In fact, tomorrow I'm doing my last duty for IBM. I am going on a business trip to, Bumblefuck, Connecticut to install a server at this location all day.
So what are you doing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
Probably answering questions about all the things I've built for IBM for the last 3 years that no one knows how to maintain or even knows what they do.
Didn't you write documentation?
Oh, I wrote documentation that no one ever read, and I didn't document everything because, let me put it this way. I documented the things I did that needed documentation. I did not document how Linux works. That is the problem.
So you know what you do is you go on your way to work tomorrow, you stop at the bookstore, and you get Linux for Dummies, and you give it to them. And then you write, and then you fill an expense report, so you get your money back.
I actually refuse to do one project right now. They wanted, in Wine, to make printing work. There are 2 ways to make printing work. And because of stuff I don't want to get into, I had to make it work the hard way, where you get a PostScript driver that is built into Wine to work inside of Wine.
Fuck that. It's hard enough to get a PostScript driver to work in Linux for Linux.
Yeah. Now, I know how to do it, and it's not trivial, but I could have done it in a couple hours. But I basically told them that I'm not going to do it and that they should really do it on their own because then they'll learn a lot about Wine and Linux, and then they won't be totally screwed when I leave.
That's good.
Tough love. But anyway, I started the new job Monday, and my benefits are crazy.
Wait a minute. Tough love. I don't think there's any love. It's just tough.
Yeah.
It's just tough shit is what it is.
Yep. But they all want to take me out drinking and all this crap, but whatever. The thing is, my new company has crazy awesome benefits. Like, I pity the people who stayed at IBM now that I've seen what the rest of the IT world gives for benefits. I'm getting a lawyer. My company is giving me a lawyer.
Well, they're not giving you a lawyer. They're giving you access to a pool of lawyers.
Yes, which is going to cost me a grand total of $6 a month.
Yeah, that's a good benefit, but generally I don't want so many benefits. I'd rather have more money because most of the benefits I'll never ever use.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's all these benefits I could take that I'm opting out of and getting money instead.
Yeah, see, that's the way to go.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm taking some sort of medical, at least catastrophic medical, in case I get hit by a car.
Yeah, that's the only health insurance that I need is if I break my leg, I need a free fucking cast. That's what I need.
Yep. And, basic dental, because
oh yeah,
dental cleanings are like $100.
Yeah, the thing is my uncle's a dentist, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah, but dental coverage is like $8 a month.
But he is a lot more happier if I have insurance because then he gets some money as opposed to just nothing.
Actually, I don't have to deal with this, but apparently a lot of HMOs and DMOs won't pay if the dentist or doctor you go to is a blood relative.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, fuck HMOs. I'm not dealing with any of that crap.
Yeah, I don't have an HMO. I have PP, whatever.
PPO, PPD, whatever.
I have to look at the card, but I'm too lazy to take out my wallet.
Yeah, I barely understand it because most of that stuff doesn't involve me. I don't have any medical problems. I go to a doctor like, I got allergies. Give me a prescription for allergy medicine.
I hardly ever go to a doctor unless I really, really need to.
Yeah, like that time when we told the story about with the leg.
Right,
When
exactly.
you were in that fight club.
It's usually physical injury.
Yeah.
That's when I go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Extreme physical injury that might require stitches or casts or, if anything's worse than a cast, like if I need screws, I'll probably just kill myself. So that's probably not going to happen either.
Yep. And I actually want good dental because I have good teeth.
I have good teeth. I have better teeth than anyone, almost.
Yeah, the problem is...
Not anyone in the world, but I have damn good teeth.
I have good teeth now because I had braces when I was a kid.
I had braces when I was a kid.
Someday I'll tell the story of the debacle that was my braces. Suffice to say, I had them for almost 9 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had braces, I got them off, then I got different braces from a different orthodontist.
Yep, me too.
And it sucked.
But it wasn't 9 years.
When I finally, it was like 8 years and a little bit more. When I finally got them off and I chewed gum for the first time, it was like, whoa. Gum is awesome.
Yeah, gum sure is awesome. I love gum.
But the braces kind of screwed up some of my teeth, so I got a bunch of fillings as a result.
See, I only have 2 fillings, and the first filling I ever got was when I was 21.
Wow. I have like 6 fillings.
Wow. Yeah, see, my teeth are awesome.
Yeah, I took the old mercury ones because, just to inject a little Randy here, there's nothing wrong with amalgam fillings. They don't poison you. Oh my God, stop spreading that urban legend, you freaks.
All right, next Thursday we'll talk about teeth.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Scott's got a lot of biting stories.
Oh, I sure do. Okay. So anyway, today's episode is going to be about worst technologies, because it's worst week. Every episode this week will be about the worst video games, the worst anime, manga, comics, and the worst, I think we decided the worst people.
Yeah, something like that. Either the worst people in history or the worst people we know currently. We're not sure yet.
Or both,
Yeah.
depending on how long it goes. I think worst people in history could be like 3 episodes, and it might be more entertaining, especially since worst people we know should be saved for Geek Fables. That way we can get more episodes out of it.
True. Plus, we have to decide how much information to give in worst people, and how many, which names to name and which names to just say, so this guy.
And I want to remind everyone that there's a poll if you go to frontrowcrew.com, which is our website.
Currently, I just want to point out that Geek Night Sucks is winning.
Great. There's a poll on the right side of the page, and I update it every now and then, and I'll probably just, say something on the podcast whenever I change the poll so I can make sure everyone goes to answer it.
Even though almost no one answers it so far.
That's fine.
Like maybe a fifth of our listeners answered the first one.
Yeah. Go to frontrowcrew.com, and on the right side of the page there's a poll. Answer it.
I'm just curious, because I know there's a lot of people out there who listen and don't go to the website. I know you're there. I see you connecting. It's fine if you don't ever want to go, but I'll note that we link to everything we talk about in case you ever get confused.
Yeah, the things of the day, the links are at frontrowcrew.com. The news stories, the links are at frontrowcrew.com. You should go there. Yeah.
And also, I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Okay.
Yeah. What else is there? Oh, that logo contest. We should decide on one soon.
Yeah, we've got a lot of submissions. We like many of them.
There's a couple that I really like, and if I could get the creators to slightly modify them, they would be perfect.
Meaning we'll probably be contacting a few people in the coming weeks and talking.
Yes. So if you still want to submit a Geek Nights logo to win the $50 in cash for creating the best Geek Nights logo.
Not to mention the fame on the website and the fact that you can put Geek Nights on your resume.
And we'll credit you in every episode and all that. You should send in your logo submissions to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com or post them in the forums at frontrowcrew.com/forum.
Be aware that ones posted to the forums are subject to mockery by all the other forum denizens.
Yes, we will not comment on the logos until after the contest because that would be unfair for the contest because there's $50 involved.
And bear in mind, if you're not an artist, if you just come up with the concept, we know people who can turn it into a real logo.
Yep.
We just need the concept, the idea.
Like, if you just draw it, like, in pencil, that's cool, and then we just, after that's enough to win the contest, and then later we'll turn it into a real fully Photoshop shiny thing that we're actually is usable for printing on t-shirts and all that jazz.
Yep, and then will come the merch.
Yep. So the requirements for the logo contest again is it should be a square, because we need a square to turn it into an iTunes album cover.
Yes, I mean we are looking for art for the top banner and all that, but that comes later.
Well, no, that's also it should look good. If you go to frontrowcrew.com and you'll see the top of the page is this blue bar that's sort of a gradient, it should look good against that gradient. And if it doesn't, then if you win, I'll ask you to modify it so it looks good against that gradient.
So don't make your logo a blue gradient.
Yeah, because we're gonna stick it right at the top of that page in the blue area, so it should look good up there. And I'd like it to incorporate Geek and Night. Somehow.
In some fashion.
Yes.
If we knew what fashion, we wouldn't be having this contest.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's worst week. We're going to try to be objective here, which, fat chance, but...
Yeah, this isn't most hated, because if it was most hated, we'd be like, oh man, do we ever hate that? Yeah, that sucks. But the problem is we might hate it, but it might still be really good. We just don't like it. So this is worst week. Things that are objectively terrible.
And because it's Monday, science and tech, we really had to narrow it down, because if we were just talking about science and tech, we'd have things like nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and if you have a really broad definition of technology like Rim wanted to have.
Yeah, I was like, let's talk about razors and nukes and war.
I'm like, those things are technically technology if you use a very broad definition, but I'm going to limit it to things that appear on Slashdot.
Yeah, so basically consumer technology, gadgets, computers, that sort of thing.
Home electronics, software, consumer software.
Yeah, the list we've got so far that we're going to talk about basically seems to cover failed technologies and bad technologies, which usually go hand in hand.
Yes.
Not always, though.
So, for example, Oracle would not make the list, because while we hate Oracle and it's pretty bad, it's not, widely considered to be this terrible thing.
And it also has its uses. My only real complaint is the price.
Yeah. If Oracle was free, it'd be pretty good. So, that's not going to be something you see on Worst Week. Something you will see on Worst Week is something like tomorrow we'll probably talk about the Virtual Boy.
Or the N-Gage.
Exactly. That's it. So, let's talk about worst technologies. What's the first? Oh, no, we're not. We got to talk about the news.
We got news.
News.
See, now, for anyone who doubts that Geek Nights is recorded live, I could have cut that out. But we don't cut anything out of the show anymore at all.
Yep.
Like, I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, so the news. Oh, my news. So Skype, the thing that lets you, talk to other people on the internet, and also you can pay money to call other people on the real telephone and receive calls on the real telephone.
It's called Skypeout.
Skypeout and Skype in. Well, you're getting free Skype out to anywhere in the U.S. and Canada until the end of the year.
Free. No strings, no nothing. You don't have to do anything. It's already working.
It's completely non-bullshit. So starting today and ending at no sooner than January 1st, 2007, you can install Skype for free, get an account for free, and call on the telephone any phone number in the entire United States and Canada for absolutely free. So if it's long distance to call your grandma in Florida, or your friend who moved to California, and your cell phone, you don't want to use minutes, and your regular phone, you don't want to pay extra, just freaking install Skype, plug a microphone and a little headset into the computer or whatever, type in their number into Skype, their phone will ring, and bam, free phone call.
Now, because of this, we're probably going to really open up to interviews until this ends. Interviews with people who don't live nearby. So in addition to us talking to some guests that we've wanted to have on, but we haven't really had the means to interview them yet, we're also, if anyone wants to call in about a topic, talk to us in the forums or in the email, and we'll set something up.
I think we should pay for one of those Skype voicemail things.
I think we should too. Even though no one has sent us voice feedback via that phone number we have now.
Well, that phone number we have now sucks.
Oh, while it sucks, no one's used it. So it doesn't matter if it sucks.
True. All right, everyone, just record yourself on your computer with like Windows Recorder.
Yeah. Or just talk to us, and then we'll have a little live interviewy thing.
Yeah. All right.
You know, we can probably do it better than Penn can on his radio show.
Oh, God, yeah, his thing doesn't work. Okay. So if you don't have Skype already, I was a little against Skype earlier because it was made by the same people who made Kazaa, which is all spyware evil. But now eBay bought it, so Skype is really legitimate now. It's not evil spyware.
And even if they ever became spyware, there are a lot of geeks watching it constantly, and you'll know immediately if they do anything shady.
Yeah, Skype is pretty trustworthy. It works pretty well for what it needs to work as, and it's good. Using it, no fear. It's now you can make free calls. It's obviously this free call thing. They're obviously just trying to get a whole bunch of people to use it who aren't using it already because now it's so amazing. And then, they'll get them all hooked, and then at the end of the year, they'll get them all paying next year. And I think it's a plan that's going to work. That kind of plan works all the time.
Yeah, get people hooked on something, and then now for just $5 a month, you can continue to use it.
I mean, Flickr works in the same way. You can store a bunch of pictures. Oh, but only so many. Now you gotta, if you want to, all right, yeah, I like Flickr too much, now I gotta pay.
Yep, but also with a reasonable price.
Yep, very reasonable price. So
for a long time, well, basically every time a new technology has appeared on the internet that used bandwidth, the ISPs have all gotten in a tuft and said, oh, this technology is going to choke the internet with traffic and crash it, and we're going to need money, and we're going to need all these things to make the internet not suck if this technology takes off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been bullshit. They said this about when real media started having, like, streaming audio. They said, this is the end of the internet. When MP3s appeared, this is the end of the internet. They've been doing this since the dawn of time. And just today, Reuters is carrying a story that the ISPs are saying that if HD content, video and high-definition video, becomes popular on the internet and is watched by many people, the internet will collapse under its own weight because of too much traffic.
Yeah, people are already BitTorrenting HD videos that are encoded in H.264 and XVID, and the internet isn't choking.
Yeah.
It's just fine.
I mean, I see the story, and it's not really news to us. I just wanted to talk about it because for anyone out there who sees this or reads about what's going on with the ISPs right now, it is complete horseshit.
Yep, they're just lying.
They're lying because they want more money. And now, now it's even this separate thing because... the whole net neutrality thing, how they want to, like, charge Google to use so their customers can get to Google and all that stuff. This is just an excuse to lobby for that more strongly. They can go to Congress and say, see, we're going to collapse under our own weight unless Google pays for their share of using Google Video, blah, 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 blah.
And because Congress doesn't know shit about technology, they believe pretty much whatever companies tell them. So usually what happens is a Google guy goes to Congress in some committee, and an ISP guy goes to Congress, and they both say, and Congress doesn't know what to think, so they think whatever they want to think, and then bad things happen.
Yeah, I don't want to sound cynical, but they probably just think whatever the guy who gave them the most money says.
Yep.
And if you don't believe me, OpenSecrets.org and places like that, you can see exactly which companies have paid which senators. And then you can look at their voting records, and there's some interesting trends in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyone who frequents our forums knows what that song was.
And anyone who was at our house recently knows what that song is.
Now, first I'm going to talk about that thing, and then I'm going to talk about what happened over the weekend. My thing of the day is long.
Great. My thing of the day will be short if I can get my point across, but that's all right.
Yeah. All right, so someone posted in our forum this little animated GIF thing that apparently had music to it.
It was a flash, I think, actually.
Yeah. The thing is, I was at work and I didn't have sound, so I clicked on it, and it was this just animation of a girl spinning a leek. A leek, for anyone who doesn't know, is a plant.
It's some sort of vegetable that people eat. You'll find it in Asian foods and such.
You see it in anime a lot.
Yeah, it's just like a long white plant with a green tuft at the end. Kind of like a celery, but different.
Anyway, this thing, I saw it, and I thought, whatever. I didn't know that there was sound to it. Then I came home, and the link was broken, and I thought, oh, well, whatever. Fast forward to where someone, in fact, one of our listeners, Ugly Fred, messaged me and yelled something about Spinning Leek Lady, and I didn't really care. And she expressed, oh, you didn't hear it. And I got a link from her to an updated link where I could actually listen to it. Go watch it. It's the most addicting, like, creepy. It's in my head and it won't go away. Why won't she stop spinning that leak? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And the thing is, it took off on the internet. Like, it exploded. It's everywhere now. And it got to the point where Wikipedia has an article about it. This is like
There's an article on Wikipedia about everything.
And now there's an article about it. And they even have a link to the forum. I think the forum is in Finland, where this was created and posted the first time. We're at the point in the world where a meme that appears can be traced back to its exact origin.
Via Wikipedia.
Yes, it's fantastic. Now, I like this thing. It's really cute. People are making more. I think this is going to be the next, big meme on the internet.
After the haha guy?
Yeah. I like it a lot more than I like YTMNDs in general.
Yeah, it is kind of like a YTMND.
Only it seems higher quality, like higher production values. More thought was put into it.
Maybe.
I mean, someone sat down, was watching Bleach, saw this scene, and thought, found this silly song, stuck them together, and made a thing. That's what the internet's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a result of this, a lot of people have been looking for this band. The band that did the song. They're a Finnish folk band, and their music's really cool. I can't find torrents of it yet, but I'm really thinking of ordering the albums.
You're nuts.
I like Finnish folk music now.
Great.
Now, the funny thing is, we showed it to everyone when they came over for the Geekend, because they hadn't seen it, they didn't really pay attention to it in the forums. And we put it on the TV, and for about 2 minutes, we just sat there watching it, and no one said a word. No one wanted to admit, wow, I don't want to stop watching this. So everyone was just quiet, and no one said anything, and we watched it like it was a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
We eventually, someone turned it off and saved us.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I was upstairs the next morning, I turned it on, and then I went and took a shower. And I left it on. And then we all decided, let's just leave it on all day. You could barely hear it in the background downstairs.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was hearing it, like, in the morning I heard it a whole bunch, but then eventually it faded out. And then occasionally it faded in, and then it faded out.
But it was like this low-level, slowly driving you insane song playing in the background that you could almost hear.
Mm-hmm.
Then we forgot about it. Then our friend Scott Johnson comes over. And we hang out, we go out and get food, we start playing this game. And for hours and hours and hours, every now and then he'd look up like, oh, whatever. And then finally he looks at all of us, he's like, guys, what's that song that's playing? And we all look at him, and we almost explode with laughter.
Almost.
Like we all
we held it in.
Somehow we all held it in. So we're all sitting there like, what song? What are you talking about? And he's looking around like, I hear this thing. I can't describe it. It's like this girl, and she's singing, but it doesn't. And I'm like, what? Is there?
Sounds like it's going in a loop.
Yeah. I was like, is there a radio going on outside? And then Scott's like, yeah, maybe something, a radio driving by, maybe the lady downstairs. But he's like, no, I hear it. It's looping. It's been looping for the past hour. It's the same song. Don't you guys hear it? And we stifled the laughter. We're like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. And after a few minutes of this, he's like, I got to find it. And he stands up and starts walking around the house. And he's like looking out. He walks outside.
He goes out the front door.
Now, while he's standing outside, we bust out. We're like, oh my God. And he walks back in. We're like, hip. Did you hear anything? And he's like, no, I think it's in the house. And we're like, you're crazy. We don't hear anything. And then finally he gets this look on his face. And he's like, and he runs upstairs. He's like, it's on your goddamn computer, Rim. What the hell? And then we exploded.
I was just falling all over myself on the stairs.
Like we were laughing so hard it hurt.
It was great.
So the spinning leak, to all of you who have not seen it, go watch it. And I guarantee the song will be stuck in your head for at least a year. So, Scott, do you have a thing of the day?
I do. It's a useful piece of software. It's
actually really cool. Don't let my long thing of the day detract from this, because this thing's awesome.
Now, if you use Windows, which I think a lot of you do, because not enough of you are smart or cool enough to use Linux, and a lot of you are so rich and arty that you use Apples. So, you Windows users out there, are you the type of Windows user that has, I don't know, a bajillion icons on your desktop, or maybe a giant start menu?
I believe the post pictures of your desktop thread answered that question.
Yeah. Well, some programs in your start menu, you use them all the time. So you usually make little quick launch buttons down in the taskbar, the things you click once and it runs the program. You put Firefox down there and stuff. Well, I got tired of my work laptop always having to dig through the start menu for the rarely used application, or have a whole billion icons everywhere for the applications that I launch frequently. And there were some applications where you don't want them to start up all the time on startup, but you want them to start up sometimes. Like if I turn my computer on at work, I always want Outlook to start up. But if I turn it on at home, I don't want Outlook to turn on at all.
Yep. And sometimes I want notes to start, Lotus Notes, yeah, shoot me now. But sometimes I need to actually do work on my computer, and I can't deal with Lotus Notes spending its 10 minutes shitting itself before it actually opens.
So what I needed was an easy way to launch and start any Windows application that was installed on the computer without digging through the start menu and without having a billion icons cluttering up my screen, because I need my screen to be clean, or else I go insane. So there's this program called Launchy. Launchy.
Launch.
Yes, it launches programs. Now, what you do is first you install Launchy, and then you run Launchy, and Launchy runs at startup. And you want Launchy to always run at startup, or else it's useless. What Launchy does is you type in a keyboard shortcut. The default keyboard shortcut for Launchy is Alt-Space. And you would type Alt-Space, and Launchy will appear. Once Launchy appears, you can right-click on it and change the skin and change the hotkey. So if you don't like Alt-Space, you can use Control-Space, which is what I use.
Control-Alt-F7 meta.
Well, no, you can combine You combine two keys. So it's like you have Control-Alt-Shift and Windows key combined with any other key. So you could be like Window L for, but even though that locks the screen, but you get the point. And what Launchy does is it opens up this little window, and the window looks like whatever skin you pick, and most of the skins are really cool looking. And they're transparent also. And you can move it around the screen to wherever you want also. And in this box, you type. You could type anything in this box. And what it will do is as you type, it will search the start menu for the program that most matches what you're typing. So if I want to start Audacity, I type A-U, and already it knows I want Audacity. So I press Enter, and Audacity starts up, and Launchy disappears. If I want to start Firefox, I open up Launchy, I type F. There it is, because I use Firefox more than anything else. I go in, and I type M. Oh, that's Mozilla Firefox, of course. I, Microsoft Office Outlook. It looks in your start menu and indexes all the icons and shit that are in there. So let your start menu become a huge mess. You're never going to go in there again if you have Launchy. And what you can do is you run Launchy, and you can get to anything in your start menu just by typing the name of it. And it'll launch.
Between that and the XPI's task switcher, I don't even have a taskbar or anything. My desktop is just completely empty now at work.
Yep. Just use the little Launchy guy, and you can start any Windows application just by opening Launchy with a quick keyboard shortcut and typing in the name of it. Now, this is even better because a lot of the, let's say you're big on the keyboard and you Alt-Tab between running programs, and all your programs you use, the keyboard shortcuts for. But in Windows, you always needed to go down to the start menu or take your hands off the keyboard to click on something to start a new program. Sure, you could do Window R to get the little run dialog box, but even then, you need to type the whole path of the executable. It's not fun.
Unless you put everything in your path, which is bad.
That's really bad. You don't want to do that either. So Launchy is what start run really should be. Is where you type in the name of any program, the English make sense name of any program in Windows that's installed on your computer and is in your start menu, and it will start it for you. So a lot less mouse use, a lot more keyboard use, a lot more efficiency, a lot more coolness. It makes Windows suck a lot less. So you should install Launchy, and the link is at frontrowcrew.com, so now you have to go there.
All right, so worst week.
Worst week.
Now, once again, we're going to try to be objective here and talk about things from a reasonable, non-opinionated standpoint.
All right, so you got the list. So
yep.
So
we'd like to start with, now, this one's a really complicated one, but we'll qualify it. digital television and high-definition television in the United States.
Yeah, well, HDTV is pretty much the same everywhere in the world. The only difference is that the rest of the world doesn't have it at all.
Yeah, but, well, digital television, other countries have digital television.
Some of them. A lot of them just have satellite television.
Yep. But we're not talking about the idea of high definition. I think high definition is great.
Yeah, there's nothing better than HD sports. They kick the shit out of normal sports.
Yep. And while most video games may not need HD, you can do awesome things with HD.
Like split screens that, where everyone can see what the hell's going on.
So don't get us wrong. We're not against HD. HD and advancing display technology is an awesome thing. But have you noticed how in America, with the HD standards and all that, basically every time they bring up an HD thing, they cripple it with DRM, and then they make it obsolete because someone broke it. And then they make a new standard, and then they cripple it, and then they break it, and then nothing works, and it's so complicated, we barely understand it. The average Joe has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, they got 720p, 720i, 1080i, 1080p. They got different numbers. They got different cables.
DVI, HDMI, DisplayPort.
They got TVs
optical.
that are HD ready, and they have TVs that are actual HD TVs, and they have TVs with digital receivers, without digital receivers.
They have
TVs that only support one format, support all the formats. It's just insane.
TVs that upsample, TVs that can't display content because they don't have the copyright stuff built into them anymore because they're old.
With the HDCP.
Yep.
Ugh.
It's just, the company, it's such a mess that I think the technology is going to fail.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, my prediction is in a few years, HD will eventually coalesce into just one standard. It'll be like 1080p, this is the cable, this is the format, and all the other HD stuff will either be sort of half working or not working anymore. And there'll be one standard, and then once they say, this is HD, this is the end, then everyone will go out and buy HD stuff when they buy new TVs.
Yep. And the same goes for HD, DVD, and Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah. Both of those are even worse when you add those into the equation.
We're not just ragging on Sony. HD, DVD, and Blu-ray both have serious problems, and there's going to be a huge war between them both, and I don't think consumers care about either one.
When you, I read today, some guy got one of those Toshiba HD DVD players.
Oh.
And you know what it is? It's just a computer. It's like a $600 Pentium 4 computer with a HD TV with an HD DVD drive in it.
Great. We have enough problems with our crapo DVD players overheating.
And it takes forever for the disc to load. So basically you put the movie in it and you wait, and it's a whole computer and you wait for it. It takes forever to boot the thing. It takes forever for it to load the movie. But once the movie's loaded, it plays an HD movie. That's what it does. That really can't compete with DVD at all.
Yep, and we could go on and on about how DVD was a much bigger leap for consumers than HD DVD is, but we don't need to get into that. The point is that the companies screwed this up by making it complex, obtuse,
and
DRM'd.
by fighting too much. Sometimes you need competition, and sometimes you need a standard. Competing over the standard doesn't work when all the standards are essentially equal but different.
Yeah, I mean, this is worse than beta versus VHS. This is just crap.
This is ass.
All right, so digital audio, MP3 took off, right? What about all the formats that sucked or failed?
Like A-Track.
Or VQF.
Yeah.
I want to know how old I am. Does anyone out there know what a VQF file is? Because when MP3 came out, like once MP3 hit mainstream, VQF appeared like right after, and it was higher quality per bitrate, but it took significantly more processing power to play.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, because computers were slow, I have one VQF file to this day that I can still play in XMMS. I've never seen another one. It's completely dead as far as I can tell. It didn't serve the market at the time it came out, and thus it was terrible and worthless.
Yep, even though if it came out more recently, it might have been able to compete with the likes of AAC and such.
Yeah. Now here's a good one. This is something that is still useful in the rest of the world to a point. And it's a thing that was awesome, except for the fact that it was crippled arbitrarily. Minidisc. I know we have a lot of foreign listeners, so I know minidisc is used a lot in the rest of the world.
In Japan, it's big.
In the U.S., minidisc died. Minidisc was a stillbirth.
They pushed it, and then when I thought it was dead, they pushed it a little more, and now it's dead, and the only time you'll really see mini disc is in personal audio recorders, but it's horribly crippled with DRM.
And you have to pay a lot of money to get non-crippled mini disc.
Oh yeah, they have crippled mini disc, which is kind of, it's not the greatest, and then they have non-crippled mini disc, which is incredibly expensive.
I mean, mini disc was great. I knew someone who had a mini disc player, and mini disc came out before it was widely available, the ability to burn CDs for yourself.
Yep, and that was the advantage of mini disc, was that unlike CDs, which at the time you could not record, mini discs could record. So it was like, oh, mini discs sound as good as CDs. They hold almost as much music, and you can record to them. They're great. They're perfect. They're so much better than CDs. CD's going to die. They're going to start selling mini discs in the store. This will be great.
Yep, but then Sony decided, wait a minute, people might pirate our music with this. We'd better fuck this format and destroy it.
Well, Sony made mini discs, so all they wanted was for it to succeed, but they also didn't want it to become a super piracy land, and that's where you got formats like the 8-track.
Yep.
You know, I'm not talking about 8-track, as in the number 8 track. That's an old, it came between cassette tapes and vinyl records.
Which we wouldn't call a failure because it was actually widely used.
Yeah, I'm talking about A-track, ATRAC, which is Sony's proprietary competitor with. So basically, if Sony had made iTunes instead of Apple making iTunes, you wouldn't be using AACs, you would be using ATRACs, A-track, which is what you would. All of Sony's early digital audio players and their digital mini disc players would only play music in the 8-track format. So you needed to use Sony's Windows software to convert music to the 8-track format, and you could only buy music from Sony in the 8-track format to play on those things. And that's why iPod won, because it played MP3, and the Sony stuff, some of the devices were actually good devices, but they failed because they forced you to convert everything to ATRAC, which sucks.
And this is Sony's real main problem, is that Sony is a whole bunch of different companies, effectively, that have different markets and different products jammed together into one big umbrella company.
And they mess with each other, and what's best for one company might be bad for another company, so they don't do it sometimes, and they do it sometimes. So if they do it, they end up hurting another part of the company. But if they don't do it, they hurt the part of the company that doesn't do it.
Yep. I mean, it's basically just the intellectual property wing of Sony at this point. They're the ones that cripple everything.
Yeah, so Sony Records doesn't want, Sony Electronics to make something that allows free recording of sharing of music. Sony can make an awesome music sharing recording device that's great, but if they did that, the Sony Music part would fail. But if they don't do it, the Sony Electronics part fails.
Sony Electronics probably didn't want any DRM to be in Blu-ray, but the rest of Sony wanted the DRM because otherwise that's the end of them.
Yep. So that's that.
All right, and along the lines of replacements like that, the floppy disk was ubiquitous. The floppy disk was, it's obsolete now, and it was actually fairly unreliable and terrible, but it was basically the standard of storage for a long time.
It was the standard for removable storage.
Portable storage.
There was really, there was the 5 1/4-inch floppy, which was replaced pretty quickly by the 3 1/2-inch floppy, which was much, much better. But for a long time, it was the only media that every computer could handle, which you could read and write to and remove from your computer easily and move it around, take it with you.
Now, a bunch of companies tried to make the successor to the floppy disk.
There was the zip disk, which actually almost worked. The problem was not enough computers had zip disk by default.
Yeah,
so it wasn't ubiquitous.
A lot of people think they saw zip disks a lot because they saw them in universities. They weren't really used so much outside of universities.
Well, there are people who had lots of digital files, people who did photoshopping a lot and such.
Yeah, content
They would
creation.
get zip disks, but most people just didn't have a need, for zip disks, and they were really expensive, which is what hurt them. You would go to the store and you'd buy a freaking box of floppies for $20. One zip disk was like $10, and that's why you didn't see people using them like crazy.
Yep, and then there was LS120 and all these other great formats that were 100 megabytes on a basically 3 1/4-inch floppy disk.
Yeah, there were drives which could take. They looked like floppy disks, 3 1/2-inch floppies, but they weren't. They had something different inside of them that could store 120 megabytes instead of 1.44 megabytes, and the drives that took those things could also take normal floppies. So that's a good idea if you want people to, carry on, here, take this drive. You can still use floppies, but you can also use our new things. And they hoped that people would use the new things, and they almost did. if floppy didn't die soon after.
Yep. These are just more cases of companies or technologies that come out that are good technology, but they cost too much for what they give you at that time, or they're not good, they're not better enough.
Or the timing is off.
Yep, or they're just not better enough from what's out there now to justify it. Because people don't like to upgrade constantly. Geeks do. We like to upgrade the kernel, 1,000 times a day. But normal people don't really seem to want to upgrade things constantly. They want to buy something and then 10 years from now buy a better thing.
They don't want to upgrade unless there is an obvious benefit that they just can't avoid, and the price is right, so it's very easy to upgrade. If there's a huge benefit, like look, Firefox, it's free, and there's a tremendous obvious benefit, yet it's still just so much effort to get someone to do it because they resist change so much.
Yep.
So imagine, trying to get someone to change to something that costs money, and the benefit is less obvious. Or they don't understand the benefit.
Back
a
to
lot
Blu-ray.
of times the benefit is tremendous, but because people don't understand how it will benefit them directly and obviously, or because no one tells them how it will benefit them, then they don't care.
Tabs, I don't need tabs. Pop-up blockers, I can just close them.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, following the lines of technology, we're not going to say Windows or Microsoft, because Windows has done a lot of good, and it has its purposes, and while we may feel a certain way about it, it's definitely not a worse. Windows Me, however,
is the worst.
That is probably the worst thing Microsoft has ever done.
So after Windows 98 came out, they came out with Windows XP and 2000. Now the thing was, they came out with Windows 2000.
Yep, and that
Windows 2000 was supposed to be for business users. It ran on the NT kernel, not on the Win32 whatever. So it was like under the hood, it was very different from Windows 98, and Windows 2000 wouldn't run a lot. It could run a lot of programs that were built for Windows 95.
But early on, there were a lot of things that just didn't work in Windows 2000.
Yeah, and it was quite a big transition. Microsoft with their long backwards compatibility thing, where Windows 3.1 programs still run in Windows XP, but from 98 to 2000, you're really switching platforms completely there.
And to me, it was a great thing. To this day, I consider Windows 2000 to be Microsoft's greatest server offering.
Yeah, but they wanted Windows 2000 to be for business people and Windows 98 SE second edition to be for normal people in their homes, because it really kind of made sense when you understood how the software worked. The problem is Windows 98 was still kind of unstable and slow, and Windows 2000 wasn't, and all the games worked on Windows 2000, so all the people switched to Windows 2000. Now, when they were upgrading Windows 2000, they still really had the idea that home users were on a different track. They weren't supposed to be using Windows 2000, so they came up with Windows Me, which was the next line in, Windows for the home user. The problem was Windows ME was just Windows 98 with a bunch of shit on it, and the shit made it crash all the time. It made it useless. It made it slow.
Yep.
The shit wasn't useful. No one was going to pay for it.
There were security holes, more so than you would expect.
It was worse than Windows 98 second edition. They basically said
it was worse than Windows 95.
Yeah, they said, here, upgrade your Windows 98 to something even worse, when Windows 2000 was sitting there that was better than everything that had already come.
Yeah, because honestly, I never used Windows 98.
I used Windows 98.
I had Windows 95A.
I had Windows 95B, and then I had
you had USB, didn't you?
Yeah.
I didn't have any USB in my
I had
computer.
Windows 95B, and then I had Windows 98 SE, because those are the OEM CDs my dad stole from work. I still have them.
I waited in line the day Windows 2000 was released and bought it in the store for $279.
Oh, I didn't do that. I used Windows 98 SE for a while, in tandem with Linux also.
Nah, I bought Windows 2000. To this day, I have a legitimate CD key.
Wow. Awesome.
All right. Now, along the lines of computers, we'd like to say a bit about electronic voting and how, while it could have been done well, it has turned into probably one of the most horrible things that could have happened to democracy in the United States.
So you've got these voting machines where you go up and there's a touch screen and you touch the name of the guy you want to vote for or girl you want to vote for. And it, if I was going to make an electronic voting machine, there are two components. Number one, it has to count votes correctly. That's something people who take CS1 can learn.
Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to increment a number.
Making a voting machine that works and counts votes is incredibly trivial. You can make it in Visual Basic with the beginner's book on Visual Basic if you knew nothing about programming whatsoever. It's so brain dead stupid to write that software. Now, so the only thing you have to really worry about when writing a voting machine isn't the software, because it's very simple. It's the security. So you need the software to be secure so that someone coming up and using the machine can't force the machine to change the votes in any way. Then you need the physical security so the machine, no one can bust into it and mess around with the insides and change all the votes. The company that was hired to make digital electronic voting machines was Diebold.
They failed on all counts. The machines are blatantly, obviously open and broken.
Yep. Well, Diebold is a company that is expert in making boxes, mostly. Safes, things you can't break into. They may, like, if you go into an office building, you'll see like the circuit breakers are in a Diebold box, or a lot of ATM machines are Diebold. You can't break into them.
Of course, a lot of ATM machines run Windows and crash, but
that's of course. Yeah, but the point is that physically, Diebold makes things, boxes, physical boxes that are tough to bust into. You need like dynamite, and they can make it as tough as you want or as weak as you want. That's their specialty. Their software, on the other hand, is that like they just hire some schmucks to write some stupid software and they screw it up royally. So. They actually did this as a video on the internet. They trained a monkey to go up to a Diebold voting machine and enter the debug mode and screw up all the votes.
Yep, and the black box voting has showed over the past several months just more, like countless holes that either backdoors that are either intentional or just insane that let you do anything you want to the machine. There's also no physical verification of the votes.
Yep, so it's not printed out. It's just written to memory. So if I go in and I change all the votes... there's no way to know that the votes are changed.
Or even if the machine, if say Diebold was crooked, they could write the machine where I click on Joe Smith and it says you voted for Joe Smith, but it counts a vote for Bob Schneider.
Yeah, you have no idea what it's doing. It's all secret.
I mean, it's not hard to come up with a voting machine that works. I mean, aside from the specific hardware, Scott and I, he could write the software in a few days.
He could write the software in one day.
Yeah, well, I'm talking, also testing and vetting it by experts.
Okay, a week. In a week, I could have perfect voting machine software.
And hardware-wise, how hard is it to come up with this concept, all right? You got a touch screen. You click on who you want to vote. It shows their name. It asks, are you sure? If you hit yes, it prints out a receipt behind glass showing your vote in ink. Your actual vote. Then it asks you, is the vote on the piece of paper correct? You say yes. It then puts that piece of paper internally into a box that is sealed. Mm-hmm. That way you have a perfect paper trail in case the machine breaks to verify.
Yep.
How could they not do that? How could, for all the millions of dollars, they didn't do that? Unless they either have a reason not to do that.
Or they're just so incompetent they couldn't.
There's no alternative. They're either evil or incompetent. And I really don't know
both.
Which.
They're both evil and incompetent. Because if they were just evil and not incompetent, then the machines would look perfect as far as we know, and we wouldn't be able to figure out that they were evil. Yet they would be evil.
It's
if they were incompetent, well, they could just be just incompetent. But yeah, they're either evil and incompetent or just incompetent.
Yeah, because you'd think that evil and incompetent would cancel each other out, but for some reason they seem to amplify.
Yeah.
All right, let's move away from computers a bit and all that. There's something that I saw in the mid-'90s, and it's been around for a long time, and the news is finally realizing and reporting that this is crap. Now, people have been on a kick about, like, home air filtration and that sort of thing. For a long time, places like Sharper Image have sold these ionizing air filters. And what they do is they ionize the air. Well, they basically pull dust particles out of the air with electricity. Now you think, ooh, that'll keep my house clean. And a lot of places sold these, especially to elderly people in houses, and they sold them in, Brookstone-type stores. And as a kid, I thought, wouldn't that just make a bunch of ozone? And you know what? Yeah, it makes a bunch of ozone, which, for those of you who aren't aware, is toxic.
Yep.
So
ozone's all cool when it's in the ozone layer because it, makes the sun go away and not give you cancer.
And it's cool in small quantities because,
it smells good.
Yeah, it smells like Thunderstorm and Nintendo.
Yep. That's a good smell.
Yes, it is.
But in large quantities, like if I fill the room with ozone, you're going to die.
Yeah, and especially susceptible are the elderly, who are the primary market for those Sharper Image bullshit fests.
So, ionizing air filters, one of the worst technologies ever.
It's a technology that just harms people and has no benefit.
It's a poison killer.
Yeah.
I mean, this is worse than some of the things like magnet bracelets. Sure, magnet bracelets don't actually heal you. They don't do anything. They're just bullshit.
But they don't hurt you.
But they don't hurt you.
Well, they might hurt you psychologically. They'll
hurt you psychologically, and they'll hurt you financially. They will not hurt you physically.
Yeah, the best argument you can make that they hurt you physically is that because you have them, you don't seek other treatment. But that's very indirect.
Yes. The ionizing air filter will hurt you financially, psychologically, and then physically. It will kill you with ozone.
Hey, Scott, you want to buy a poison gas maker?
Really? A poison gas maker? Oh, that's great for parties. I'll just stick it in someone else's room. And then it'll be great.
All right. So back to computers. Does anyone remember Microsoft Bob?
I remember Microsoft Bob.
Bob was an attempt to make computers accessible to idiots.
It wasn't even an operating system. It was this piece of software that was called Microsoft Bob, and you would run it after you started Windows or maybe set it up to run on Windows Startup. I think it was Windows 3.1, right?
I believe so.
And what it did is it showed you, it turned the desktop from a metaphor into a literal thing. It showed you this picture of a room with a desk and a bookshelf and all this stuff, and this happy smiley face whose name was Microsoft Bob. And you would click around the room to make your computer do stuff. And you could, you click on the Rolodex to store your phone numbers, and I don't really remember it all too clearly because I only used it in a CompUSA.
There are
once or
lots
twice.
of websites that'll show you in detail. In fact, there are Bob softwares out there that'll show you what Bob was like if you search hard enough. The problem with Bob is, one, it was done really poorly, like really poorly. It didn't work and it crashed and took up all your machine's RAM.
Yeah, it didn't work. It crashed. Computers couldn't really handle all the graphics it wanted to do. It was really, even if you used it, it made things brain dead easy, or at least it made things make sense for idiots. The problem is it was horribly inefficient. If you kind of knew what you wanted to do with your computer, Bob just got in your way and made it harder for you to get your work done.
Bob also prevented you from learning how your computer really worked. So you wouldn't really understand how your computer worked because it put this metaphor in front of you instead that was so abstracted. And the problem is that the metaphor, all right, I'm in my office. But now you get unintended consequences of that because you think of how you would do something in your office, and that's not how you do it on a computer.
Nope, not at all. So Microsoft Bob failed miserably. No one bought it, and it's a big thing among people who are alive and knew about computers back in the day, like in the 90s.
Yep, there was a similar semi-bad thing called Packard Bell Navigator.
Oh, there were things for all kinds of computers. There was TabWorks.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, on a lot of compact computers. And basically all these were... Because Windows 3.1, the operating system, had the Program Manager. And what these things were is they replaced the Program Manager with some other GUI interface that was supposedly more efficient, user interface-wise. TabWorks had all these tabs, which made it somewhat easier to use than the Program Manager, which is... Now, if you go ever try to use Program Manager nowadays, you just want to kill yourself.
God.
But... the problem was they were all slow or useless, or they had, they weren't compatible with all the kinds of crazy stuff, and they just caused problems.
Though
the Program Manager did work, even though it was a pain in the ass to use.
Before Windows 95, you all realized that there was no such thing as a taskbar, right?
There was no taskbar.
You had Program Manager, and that was it. You had this one icon. And
you had the Program Manager, and you could minimize things to the real desktop, including Program Manager.
Yep, and they minimized as little icons.
Yep.
And Program Manager, if you minimize that, all you had was a blank desktop with one icon on it. Program Manager.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was your computer.
Even before that, you had DOS.
Yeah, DOS was actually...
If you exited Windows, you went to DOS, because Windows wasn't an operating system originally. It was a program that ran in DOS.
I basically would just type DOS commands for whatever you were doing.
And it loaded a bunch of... like wrapper driver type of things, and then other programs could run in Windows, which is running in DOS. And DOS really wasn't much of an operating system, which is why you were able to run Windows on it, because DOS was already so close to the hardware that Windows wasn't very far away from the hardware running on DOS. In fact, Windows now, which isn't running on DOS, is probably farther away from the hardware than Windows 3.1 was.
All right, last and least... it amazes me how few people I meet in the street know about this, because it was big news as far as I can remember, and I remember laughing at it failing.
I remember my friend who worked at Circuit City trying to sell it to me.
Yeah, I knew someone who bought one.
Whoa.
No, he bought it after it failed as a DVD player. Because DVD players back then were expensive.
They were.
We're talking about DivX.
Now, you might, when someone says DivX, you might be thinking about the video file format that you download from the internet and watch anime with and such.
I don't know why they named that codec that, because it screwed me up for the longest time.
It screwed me up as the longest time. I was like, why are they calling this DivX? There's already something else called DivX that existed and died. You can't, calling it the same thing is only going to mean bad things for you.
It's like they didn't even know.
They must have not known. I think they didn't know.
Because, I mean, I meet people who are older than me who've never heard of DivX, yet it made big news.
It was very big news, and Circuit City had a huge thing because they were like the #1 company trying to sell it.
DivX was a semi-competitor to DVD that had, its gimmick was that you buy a DivX player, and you plug the DivX player into a phone line. You buy DVD...
Did you have to plug it into a phone line?
I think you had, yeah, it had to be able to phone home.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
I think there were some that didn't, but I know it had to be able to phone home at some point, like occasionally.
Oh,
like
right.
once a month you'd have to plug it into the phone line, let it call back, and figure out stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right.
But you get a DivX disc and you buy it, and it costs like $1 or $2, and it's a movie, a DVD.
Yeah, DVDs, they were like, what? People don't want to pay $20 for DVDs when they've been paying $10 for VHSs. We're going to make a DivX player, which is basically DVD movies, but they cost $1. And that way people will buy a shit ton of these $1 videos, and we'll make a killing off of them.
So you put it in your DivX player and you watch it, right? Now you've watched it once. You have to pay the DivX company to watch it again. Like another 50 cents every time you want to watch it.
So instead of going to Blockbuster or using Netflix, you have to mail discs back and forth. You would go to the store, put like $1 in a vending machine, or give $1 to Circuit City, get whatever movie you wanted, and bring it home. And you could keep that forever instead of renting it. But you only got to watch it once. And if you wanted to watch it again, you would have to pay more money. And that way, you know, like, how many DVDs do you have where you paid $20 and you watch them one time?
The Initial D movie.
Yeah. And how many DVDs do you buy once and you watch them 30 times, you know? So their idea was that you buy more DVDs that you watch once than you buy DVDs that you watch 30 times, and therefore using DivX will save you money, and it'll make them a lot of money by giving you DivX.
They had a huge marketing campaign about this, and it was everywhere. It was a big deal. They were pushing it as this is going to be the future. And the first thing I thought when I heard of it was, wow, why don't I just hack it so I can buy movies for $1?
Yeah.
And
or
you know what?
Why don't I just hack it so I buy the movie and then I never need to give them money again, and it lets me watch the movie forever and ever.
Every geek thought that, and luckily, even beyond that, the rest of the consumer world just balked at it, and it died almost immediately.
Yeah, Circuit City really tried to sell these players to people because they were cheaper than DVD players, obviously, because they had this, you know, subscription plan thing going on.
But they also played DVDs.
They also played DVDs. So some people bought them and just used them as DVD players. Some people, you know, people didn't really understand the whole DivX thing, no matter how much Circuit City employees tried to explain it to them.
Circuit City took a bath. Like they didn't. They got close to bankruptcy, I believe, over that.
Yeah,
debacle.
Circuit City's not doing as well as Best Buy these days, even though it's pretty much the same store. Except Best Buy, I think, sells like home appliances, and Circuit City does not.
Yeah, but Circuit City dumped money into this knowing it was going to succeed. The same way Nokia dumped money into the N-Gage knowing it would succeed.
Talk about the N-Gage tomorrow.
Yeah, but the thing is, it failed. It's one thing if a company takes a risk on something and you know, accepts that risk, like we might lose this money. They must have assumed that this would succeed, so when they failed, they couldn't really deal with that. The money was gone.
Yeah, it was really bad for Circuit City, and the technology itself was really bad, and everything about it was bad. It's one of the worst technology things ever. DivX.
The scary thing is, as time goes on, I could see technology like that being more acceptable to the consumer public. Because they're starting to accept DRM more and more. But if you tried to foist the DRM that is currently in, like, HDTV to people 10 years ago, they'd laugh at you, spit on you, and then tell you to die in a fire.
Well, the thing is, people are willing to accept DRM as long as it doesn't get in the way. So look at Apple. Apple has DRM in iTunes, right?
You don't even notice it.
You don't notice it. It doesn't. You wouldn't know it was there if no one told you, or unless you tried to really do some crazy stuff. the DRM in what has really bad DRM?
The Sony recording bit I'm holding right here in my hand.
Yeah, that really gets in the way because you buy a recording, device and you want to take the audio from it and put it on your computer. But you can't because you need to use Sony special software, and Sony special software sucks. And then you can't do it with Linux computer. And it starts to get annoying that the DRM is preventing you from doing something you should be able to do. The Apple iTunes DRM really doesn't prevent you from doing that much that you should be able to do. You really have to kind of go way out of your way to make it say, you can't do that.
And that's basically it. I mean, we could talk for hours, but based on our thinking and trying to remember technologies in recent years that have been just objectively terrible, that weren't already related to anime or video games.
Yeah, this isn't going to be... This is going to probably be the worst episode in worst week. Not that it's going to be that it was a bad episode, but it's not going to be as good as the rest of the week. So
because video game news, like the Game Gear failing and the
Virtual Boy,
the Neo
the
Geo,
N-Gage, the Gizmondo,
the Power Glove.
Yeah, there are so many video game things we can talk a long time about.
Philips CDI.
There you go.
Atari.
Well, not all of Atari.
Yeah, but the whole Atari leading into the crash of the gaming industry.
Yep. But we're just going to talk about games and consoles and such, so.
Yep.
Neo Geo. Saturn. Yeah. So, I'm sure there's a bunch of horrible technology we missed, but that's obvious because we only prepared for like an hour before the episode. There's no way we could have found all or remembered all the old stuff that was terrible.
Plus, remember, things like Favorites Week, Best Week, Worst Week are weeks we can do again if we really get hard up for content because there's more to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen for a while, though.
No, we got a lot of content.
So if you've got a horrible technology that was just terrible, and you remember it and we didn't, go to the forum with everyone else, and we'll go, oh my God, we should have talked about that.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And if you don't remember Divx, don't say anything. It'll just make me feel really old.
Yeah, just go on the internet and search for Divx or on Wikipedia. That way you can...
Yeah, look on Wikipedia. If you just search for Divx, you'll find nothing but codecs.
You'll find nothing but the actual good Divx video format. But if you go on Wikipedia, you'll find a story about the old crap Divx we're talking about.
And that was Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcast, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geek Nights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geek Nights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night. It's Monday, May 15th, and this is Geek Nights. Tonight we talk about the worst technologies ever. Let's do this.
Another successful geekend.
Indeed.
We had a bunch of friends over, we climbed that mountain, and we played Fury of Scott Johnson.
Well, I didn't climb that mountain. I went home and then came back.
Yeah, the rest of us climbed
Full
the
of
mountain.
food.
But we did play Fury of Dracula.
We played Fury of Dracula.
The game takes fucking 5 hours to play.
It would have taken 3.5 hours if there wasn't a rules ambiguity.
Yeah, even though, not to, make fun of Scott, because apparently according to people out in the forums, I make fun of Scott too much.
Oh, so now they know which one of us is which again.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
I just found that really hilarious because honestly, in the real world, most people would say the exact opposite because Scott's the one who calls everyone stupid.
I make fun of everybody.
He does. It's like we make fun of Cartman because he's fat. Yeah. And we make fun of Cartman because he's stupid. Yeah.
And make fun of Cartman because he's an asshole.
God damn it, you already did me. Yeah. Anyway, we all decided, like everyone but Scott was like, all right, it's obvious the rule is this, let's just play. But Scott led us on an 1.5-hour goose chase to try to find the actual rule, and in the end he found out we were all right.
But the point is that you saw where the rule was in the rule book. You saw that, didn't you? Where was the rule in the rule book?
I'm not pretending that the rules were not shittily written.
Okay.
However, I was okay.
I love gum.
But the braces kind of screwed up some of my teeth, so I got a bunch of fillings as a result.
See, I only have 2 fillings, and the first filling I ever got was when I was 21.
Wow. I have like 6 fillings.
Wow. Yeah, see, my teeth are awesome.
Yeah, I took the old mercury ones because, just to inject a little Randy here, there's nothing wrong with amalgam fillings. They don't poison you. Oh my God, stop spreading that urban legend, you freaks.
All right, next Thursday we'll talk about teeth.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Scott's got a lot of biting stories.
Oh, I sure do. Okay. So anyway, today's episode is going to be about worst technologies, because it's worst week. Every episode this week will be about the worst video games, the worst anime, manga, comics, and the worst, I think we decided the worst people.
Yeah, something like that. Either the worst people in history or the worst people we know currently. We're not sure yet.
Or both,
Yeah.
depending on how long it goes. I think worst people in history could be like 3 episodes, and it might be more entertaining, especially since worst people we know should be saved for Geek Fables. That way we can get more episodes out of it.
True. Plus, we have to decide how much information to give in worst people, and how many, which names to name, and which names to just say, so this guy.
And I want to remind everyone that there's a poll if you go to frontrowcrew.com, which is our website.
Currently, I just want to point out that Geek Night Sucks is winning.
Great. There's a poll on the right side of the page, and I update it every now and then, and I'll probably just, say something on the podcast whenever I change the poll so I can make sure everyone goes to answer it.
Even though almost no one answers it so far.
That's fine.
Like maybe a
Just nothing.
Actually, I don't have to deal with this, but apparently a lot of HMOs and DMOs won't pay if the dentist or doctor you go to is a blood relative.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, fuck HMOs. I'm not dealing with any of that crap.
Yeah, I don't have an HMO. I have PP, whatever.
PPO, PPD, whatever.
I have to look at the card, but I'm too lazy to take out my wallet.
Yeah, I barely understand it because most of that stuff doesn't involve me. I don't have any medical problems. I go to a doctor like, I got allergies. Give me a prescription for allergy medicine.
I hardly ever go to a doctor unless I really, really need to.
Yeah, like that time when we told the story about with the leg.
Right,
When
exactly.
you were in that fight club.
It's usually physical injury.
Yeah.
That's when I go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Extreme physical injury that might require stitches or casts or, if anything's worse than a cast, like if I need screws, I'll probably just kill myself. So that's probably not going to happen either.
Yep. And I actually want good dental because I have good teeth.
I have good teeth. I have better teeth than anyone, almost.
Yeah, the problem is
Not anyone in the world, but I have damn good teeth.
I have good teeth now because I had braces when I was a kid.
I had braces when I was a kid.
Someday I'll tell the story of the debacle that was my braces. Suffice to say, I had them for almost 9 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had braces, I got them off, then I got different braces from a different orthodontist.
Yep, me too.
And it
But it wasn't 9 years.
When I finally, it was like 8 years and a little bit more. When I finally got them off and I chewed gum for the first time, it was like, whoa, gum is awesome.
Yeah, gum sure is awesome.
With us just making up a rule and continuing.
I'm not okay with making up rules. I got to find out the real rule. But now, actually, I think there aren't so many ambiguities left in that game.
Yeah.
Like, there could be a few situations that arise due to a combination of event cards and encounters and things, but not many. I think we pretty much got the game down 100%.
Yep. Of course, I specifically avoided one possible conflict with a card just because I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, the game's fun.
Mm-hmm. We'll probably play it a few more times at least, see what happens.
Yep. Though in another quick meta bit, as you all know, I quit IBM, and this is my last week. In fact, tomorrow I'm doing my last duty for IBM. I am going on a business trip to, Bumblefuck, Connecticut to install a server at this location all day.
So what are you doing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
Probably answering questions about all the things I've built for IBM for the last 3 years that no one knows how to maintain or even knows what they do.
Didn't you write documentation?
Oh, I wrote documentation that no one ever read, and I didn't document everything because, let me put it this way. I documented the things I did that needed documentation. I did not document how Linux works. That is the problem.
So you know what you do is you go on your way to work tomorrow, you stop at the bookstore, and you get Linux for Dummies, and you give it to them. And then you write, and then you fill an expense report, so you get your money back.
I actually refuse to do one project right now. They wanted in Wine to make printing work. There are 2 ways to make printing work. And because of stuff I don't want to get into, I had to make it work the hard way, where you get a PostScript driver that is built into Wine to work inside of Wine.
Fuck that. It's hard enough to get a PostScript driver to work in Linux for Linux.
Yeah. Now, I know how to do it, and it's not trivial, but I could have done it in a couple hours. But I basically told them that I'm not going to do it and that they should really do it on their own, because then they'll learn a lot about Wine and Linux, and then they won't be totally screwed when I leave.
That's good.
Tough love. But anyway, I start the new job Monday, and my benefits are crazy.
Wait a minute. Tough love. I don't think there's any love. It's just tough.
Yeah.
It's just tough shit is what it is.
Yep. But they all want to take me out drinking and all this crap, but whatever. The thing is, my new company has crazy awesome benefits. Like, I pity the people who stayed at IBM now that I've seen what the rest of the IT world gives for benefits. I'm getting a lawyer. My company is giving me a lawyer.
Well, they're not giving you a lawyer. They're giving you access to a pool of lawyers.
Yes, which is going to cost me a grand total of like $6 a month.
Yeah, that's a good benefit, but generally I don't want so many benefits. I'd rather have more money, because most of the benefits I'll never ever use.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's all these benefits I could take that I'm opting out of and getting money instead.
Yeah, see, that's the way to go.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm taking some sort of medical, at least catastrophic medical, in case I get hit by a car.
Yeah, that's the only health insurance that I need. Is if I break my leg, I need a free fucking cast. That's what I need.
Yep. And, basic dental, because
oh yeah,
dental cleanings are like $100.
Yeah, the thing is, my uncle's a dentist, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah, but dental coverage is like $8 a month.
But he is a lot more happier if I have insurance, because then he gets some money as opposed to just